and Kristen Clothier. And we don't have any other folks online yet.
Ben is upstairs. Upstairs.
Where Ben?
He's upstairs Xeroxing, yeah.
Ah, very good. So we'll go to approval of minutes for September 25th of 2025, the regular meeting minutes as well as the chair meeting minutes.
I move to approve the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes of September 25th, 2025 as presented.
Second. Todd, second. Okay. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Remember, roll call votes.
Yep.
Okay.
We have, yeah, I was just
Okay.
going to say,
Kathy, yes.
Those are
Todd,
yes. So
yes.
Charles? Yes.
Charles, yes.
Angela, yes. Thank you, Ben.
And Sherb doesn't get to vote because we only 5 people can vote. Thank you.
And thank you for that reminder, Kathy. Okay, second is the chair minutes, and I move to approve those.
Todd seconds.
No, we're good.
We're good.
It's just an act, it's just a chair minute, so.
Yes.
It was on there, so it's just doesn't
Right.
need a second.
I move to approve.
Yep.
Okay.
I was going, wait a minute.
No.
Okay. Action item number 3 is an appointment of one, oh boy, this is around again, one P&Z member to the Ethics Commission. And you must be a regular member. Anybody want to serve this time?
Well, but I think I'm alternate, so I'm not sure if I can.
Yeah, no, it has to
Okay.
be a regular member.
Regular member. Thanks for being willing to
Yeah.
do that. Charles, have you served?
I
I mean, they never
I
meet,
was
so-
on the ethics committee, but we never met. So, but I'll do it.
Great.
Okay. Someone want to nominate?
I nominate Charles Dalton to serve on the Ethics Committee as the Planning and Zoning Commission member.
We'll need a second.
Todd seconds.
Todd, all right. Moved and seconded for Charles.
And we
Any
need,
discussion?
Okay.
Kathy,
yes, I vote yes.
Todd, yes.
Leisha,
Leisha, yes.
Angela, yes.
Charles, yes.
Very good. And welcome to the Ethics Committee. May you never meet.
I hope.
You never.
Okay, staff announcements. We have a new staff person.
Yes, this is a very exciting announcement. So we are thrilled to have David Hunter join our Telluride Historic Preservation Planning and Building team. David is a registered architect and licensed professional plans examiner who has spent the past 9 years with the City of Tampa, first as plans examiner and for the past 3 years as the planning and design coordinator. He's a wonderful addition to our team and looks forward to working with the Telluride community in the years to come. So welcome, David. I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Obviously very excited to be here and join this community. I'm extremely excited to work with extremely high caliber people, Kristen and Ben and Zoe and the rest of the team. I've been extremely impressed with everybody who I've met. And I look forward to serving you guys and helping drive this community forward. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Kevin?
There, quick updates.
We've been having Tampa weather, but don't count on that.
Right.
Apologize. I hate to think I'm bad.
So a few other things, updates, staffing updates. Breaking news. We have also just hired a new senior historic preservation planner who will be joining our team in March. I look forward to introducing you to a talented new team member then. And finally, I wanted to let the Planning and Zoning Commission know that we will very soon, quite likely this week, be posting the position of Land Use Code Compliance Officer, which will be a position that supports code enforcement, specifically in the Historic Planning and Building Department and the Public Works Department. So it'll be a position that supports both. And the work of this team member will be inclusive of construction mitigation plan enforcement, snow removal parking, construction parking, right-of-way excavation, sign regulations, land use code enforcement. So a broad position, very much field-based to support all of this important work between the two departments. So we're excited about that as well and hope to have a full staff team in 2026, and we're excited about the year ahead. So thank you.
Great.
That's very exciting.
Any comments, anything other on that?
Nope,
Okay, good.
That's it.
Next, do we have any public comment?
No.
No.
We have
And-
none on.
and
no-
none
no
online?
hands are raised on-
Okay. Sheriff, you're bigger than life on the screen. It's lovely. Thank you.
Your hand is so
Yeah.
big.
All right, let's go to the work sessions. Do we, are we scheduled for a Zoom, our group?
And I don't know, have the consultants logged in yet?
We have people, but I don't know their names.
Okay, I will open,
There's some.
yeah, I will open the,
There may be a Ben Osterling. He's also. a
I
part
think
of
we
it.
are all here.
Great.
okay, let me open the item under work sessions. First, we have comprehensive plan update, input and next steps with our project consultants, LS and Christian Collier. Want to use this item, Christian?
I would be delighted to. So thrilled to have the consulting team here for this work session. We are just wrapping up phase 1 of the 3-phase comprehensive planning process. And they are going to provide you with an update looking back to all that has been done and accomplished to date, as well as share with you a path forward for phase 2. There's been a lot of work done by the consultants to pull together existing conditions, lots of data visualizations, all the foundational elements of the comprehensive plan. So now is an exciting time for our collective team to start working on drafting the plan elements and really building this work moving forward. So just to let the Planning and Zoning Commission know, each meeting from now forward that we have together will include a comprehensive plan work session. You will each, now that we're in phase 2, have assignments between each meeting to come prepared to share input on. And we are excited to really engage this team in the months ahead as we develop the plan together. So thank you, consultants. Thank you to our planning staff for all their hard work. We've been doing a lot of work together as a team to move this forward. So I'll let Megan take it away. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen, and good evening, commissioners. It's good to be back in front of you. We've got maybe a 30-minute presentation this evening. I'll start it off, just give an update on schedule and where we are in the process. Sophie will talk a little bit about what we've heard from the public. I know you kind of got a recap back in October, so it might be a little redundant with that, but I think we've gone back kind of through and summarized everything together. And then Ben will talk a little bit about 2 themes within the existing conditions. We're calling them snapshots, but it's kind of that dashboard for community character and economy. And the intent is that we get into transportation and housing at your next meeting. So we'll do this in parts, so you've got the opportunity we can discuss a little bit and ask questions, etc. So with that, the project overview, like Kristen said, we're trying to move from phase 1 into phase 2. So phase 1 really focused on kind of broad-based outreach, right? Asking the public what they thought were the key issues and opportunities. And Sophie will talk a little bit about what we've heard. We did the first big outreach push in July, late July last year, and did one-on-one meetings. We hung out at the gondola. We hung out at some of the parks and Telski to get folks in, just kind of ask them some quick questions, mostly just to make sure that they were aware of the process as a whole and how they could plug in. Along with that, we did do an online questionnaire, which Sophie's got results from, and we met with our advisory committee the first time in July as well. We did another push that's not really shown on kind of this mountain scheme here. Another push for outreach in late October. Again, we did some focus groups and some roundtables. We also met with our advisory committee again. I think we met with you all again that week. And just kind of tried to round out, gain a little bit more insight into folks' issues and opportunities, what they'd like to see, kind of setting the stage for moving into both phase 2 and actually developing a plan. So what we've heard to date and what Sophie will go over will directly relate to what you see in the structure, the outline, and the goals and policies of the plan document. Sorry, Sophie, go back real quick. Moving into phase 2. So as Kristen said, we're trying to get into a little bit more detail. So what we expect to be able to show you over upcoming months is really how that outreach and how the existing conditions that we'll talk about tonight feed into the actual plan itself. We are preparing for another round of outreach, likely in March, possibly late March, to again kind of go back to the public, make sure we've heard them correctly, make sure we're getting them right. And then further into late spring, early summer, we'll plan to package everything together into the draft plan and release that out for one last round of review before hearings. Phase 1, I kind of just went through this on the last one, but we did want to point out that we've used all of these events and kind of this feedback to reaffirm the vision. So as we mentioned earlier on, we don't want to recreate the wheel here. We kind of wanted to reaffirm that vision. We've still seen support for that vision, a little bit of tweaking, and then build upon the principles of livability. So that's economy, environment, housing, infrastructure, and community. And those have kind of been identified under the themes that you'll see in existing conditions.
So as Megan said, we have heard from a handful of people in that first phase. This dashboard here is just representing those that we heard from in the first kickoff event series. So that first week of engagement, we were a lot of places throughout the week, and we were able to touch, have a touch point with almost 500 people. That includes boards and commissions, work sessions, town council, planning and zoning commission, HARC. So this is kind of that all-encompassing number of who we talked to, how many times we spoke to someone about the comp plan. We tried to keep our questions pretty high level and really focused and centered on that vision, making sure, as Megan said, that the vision still rings true to the community. As we started to ask people what they care about, what they see for the future of Telluride, you start to see some of those key elements start to rise to the top. So it's really quite aligned with those principles of livability, those 5 kind of buckets that were already identified in the vision. But you can see in this bar graph on the left, housing and affordability is quite high. A lot of people mentioned that as a key concern, challenge, or opportunity. You'll see community and equity is another kind of top of mind theme or topic, followed by sustainability and environment. And then you see it kind of tick downward, transportation and infrastructure, culture and identity, arts and events. We asked the community which of the core values are really most important to you. It doesn't necessarily mean that we remove any of those core values, but just kind of touching base. Where are people leaning right now? What is really center in the future of Telluride? You see that it is quite well spread. We have authentic and sustainable really top of that list, followed by connected. But what we really found out during this entire process is that people attach different sentiments to each of those core values. So honing in on what does that really mean for Telluride? What does that mean to each individual when you think about authenticity, sustainability, and connection? And then we also just checked in again. How do people feel about the vision statement? Still pretty highly applicable, which is great news. That's wonderful. And really some people just kind of right in the middle there, somewhat applicable. Maybe there's some room for opportunity as well. I will mention that with that phase 1 wrap-up event in October that we did, we saw about 100 people through those roundtable events, and a couple drop-in sessions. One that was really targeted towards a Spanish-speaking event at Shandoka parking lot, where we had around 50 people come out and provide some input on the comprehensive plan. So this is a snapshot of the online questionnaire. We tried to keep the questions pretty similar to those that were asked in the first phase, just to make sure that we're reaching as many people as possible. You do see a little bit different breakdown in terms of this vision statement and how applicable that is. Seeing that somewhat applicable bucket rise a little bit more than highly applicable. So as Megan said, perhaps some room for improvement or some tweaking that we can all kind of contribute to. We had 357 responses, and we started to see really similar trends to those in person, seeing housing and affordability, really that top mentioned topic, sustainability and environment and community and equity also right there with it. So we're really seeing a lot of the same kind of topics, same important themes that need to be carried forward into the comprehensive plan. So we have done a little bit of tweaking, and I think we maybe introduced this back in October, of those principles of livability. And really the most substantial piece is moving housing into the same bucket as infrastructure, looking at housing as a key community infrastructure piece. So moving forward with the plan development, you'll see these themes pop up. We may try to make them a little bit more playful and specific to the town of Telluride in the final document, but we really hope that you all have opinions on that and can help us really start to craft the comprehensive plan to make it specific and unique and not just these typical theme buzzwords. So today, as Megan said, we're really going to look at a focused existing condition snapshot. So looking at community and economy. And the reason why we're front loading these themes at the beginning of the process is to really guide the data and guide which areas are we targeting to better understand existing, past, and future trends for Telluride. So with that, I will pass it over to Ben, who's going to introduce some of our maps.
Thanks, Sophie. So on the screen, we have a couple of the static maps that we've been developing for the existing conditions. And so after I kind of go through these couple of maps, we'll then show a quick brief example of kind of what's that looking like online for those existing conditions dashboard, which you may have caught at town council. But we really just want to kind of flash the key data points that we're collecting this far, because this has been a huge effort just to take different departments' data sets and bring them all into a spatial context that we can kind of continue to build off going way into the future for Telluride. So that's one thing that's just really exciting about this process, is kind of taking everything and putting it into one place. And so I kind of like to think about what this dashboard will become is kind of like a storybook for the community to be able to flip through those different plan elements and themes and understand the feedback they've been given so far, they've been giving us to kind of look at the key data points. And as we move into plan development, kind of have all those pieces to really craft the important goals and policies moving forward. And so this has been a really big challenge, but a really exciting opportunity to craft all these. So this first one, we're really emphasizing the economy section and also the community character section. And then as Megan mentioned, we're going to move into the housing, infrastructure, transportation, environment, and recreation when we come back to you later in February. It's just been a very, very detailed process. We're working right now with town staff to vet all that data to make sure that we're presenting things in a way that the public can consume, appropriately and with good intent. And so that's why these next couple of weeks are really dialing in that text, really dialing those extra data points. But to just give you a brief snapshot of where we're at so far, this is part of our economy section. So we've been working with the Telluride active business licenses. So taking business licenses and short-term rentals from the Telluride town clerk's office. So we have all those active business permits, and I'll show a little bit later kind of how these dashboards give a little bit more magnitude to some of this data. But you can get a quick spread. So looking at number of in-town active businesses, you're seeing in blue, service is the highest kind of business license that's being seen in Telluride. And as we move forward, we even want to be able to break this down a little bit further to kind of look at tourism-based jobs under these business licenses, as well as town service jobs under these business licenses. So we're also trying to really dilute this information even further to get some extra data points as well. But on the flip side of that, kind of looking at number of out of town active business licenses. So those business licenses that are out of town but serving Telluride, with the most being retail in the red. So you can kind of see those bubbles are as big and connected to the number of business license permits within town. So giving you a little bit of that scale of what's going on from an economic standpoint from businesses. And then moving on to another
Ben, do you
one.
want
Can we
comment
take,
here?
would you like, or could we please have questions as we go, or is that
Yeah,
possible?
we have a few questions at the end. I can either do those now, or we can wait till the end and flip back to them, whatever is easier.
We have questions for you, not your questions for us.
Okay, yeah, please.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm getting old eyes, but between the orange, the brown, and the red, it all ran together. I couldn't tell. And if you look at the in-town licenses, yeah, the blue's obvious, but after that, it's not.
Subtle.
It's too subtle. Can you
Not enough.
look at
contrast.
different shading, different texture, something other than just the color to differentiate it a little bit better? Thanks.
Yes,
Right.
thank you for that comment.
Yeah, Charles?
And could you just kind of run through the first four for each one? I know what the blue is, but I
Oh.
can't tell. Is that the
Yeah.
orange and the red? Is that retail
Or
or
construction?
construction?
Yes, apologies. So for number of in-town active business license, the first four is at the most is blue with service. The next is construction in that dark kind of orange, and red is retail in town. And then that darker brown is retail food and beverage.
Okay.
And then on the flip side, for number of out of town active business licenses, that dark orange is retail out of town, blue service, and then kind of that pinkish one is retail out of town, and then the lighter pink is wholesale.
Well, isn't the biggest one on the out of town construction or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You said retail.
You said retail.
I apologize. I'm also getting the color mixed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, construction and manufacturing. What kind of manufacturing are we talking about? Construction, I think we all get.
So one thing we can do is we can assign the businesses under the business licenses. It's not classified as that specific yet, but if that is something that is helpful, and one benefit to having this online dashboard is you can click on that point and then see that classification or that name of the business to give you that finer detail to really help with kind of exploring that data set. So that's a really good note to add if you all see that being a good additional piece of data when you kind of explore this online.
So manufacturing to me means that we're actually making a product like roofing material, or other than a construction assembly, we're actually creating it. It's an industrial category. So that's what piques my interest. I didn't know we were doing any of that.
Does Telluride gravel count as?
Yeah.
That's out of,
Yeah.
right, it's out of town.
Ride skis. We had a candle maker a couple years ago. Somebody was sewing like
Oh, we have lots of sewing.
Monique, yeah.
Scott fly rods, but they're probably going to be manufacturing for construction. So, because there's a bunch of cabinet makers in our region that would hold business licenses to work in the town of Telluride.
Okay. Is that what you found, Ben?
Yes, and sorry, can whoever's moderating, unmute Sophie and Megan. I think they also want to jump in but can't unmute themselves. Apologies.
Thank
Go ahead.
you. No, I think that this might be actually a question for the town and how they typically classify businesses when they fill out their business license application. So yeah, I think we could probably assume that it is those smaller scale, like trade manufacturers, but I don't know if Kristen and staff know how they classify those.
Okay,
Right,
we
Ben?
can follow up on that. We don't
Yeah.
need to.
But
Go ahead,
I
Kathy.
think we might want to know about manufacturing separate from construction. We're going to be much more focused on economic diversity right now than we were 6 months ago. We have no snow basically in our state, let alone here, and we had the strike. So if we have manufacturing that's actually making something, we might be really excited and want more of that. So that should not be lumped. We need to be able to differentiate that from 5 million construction permits or licenses.
That was kind of where I was going as well. Diversification of our economy, we need to dial
And
down a
Ben,
little bit.
I just wanted to say, Ben did state though, like they are going to be looking into dissecting a little bit more to give more.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah, but we're giving you feedback that we think that's a great idea.
I should
That's so
add
good.
too,
And why?
and this brings up a great point that I should mention too. So you all obviously have the sales tax data as well. And so on Telluride's, the town of Telluride's website, you classify, or it's being classified, construction, manufacturing together as sales tax. So on the online dashboard, we're going to also add kind of that general total sales tax from each month too. So you can sort of compare and see how those are contributing as well. So that is one reason why it's classified like this, but we can also separate that as well. Just an FYI.
okay, great.
Thank you. Any other questions? Can they keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it, Ben.
Awesome.
Or whomever.
So the next one, this one falls under community character. So looking at building permits. And so these are building permits from the past decade. So 2024 to 2014. And so this is the example I'll show online after we go through these static maps. So the source is in the top. This is Town of Telluride Planning and Building Department looking at the building permit reports. And so you can see each year, and these are new structures, I should mention. So these are new structures being built. So it's not including certain renovations or small things. These are new structures. And so it's kind of cool. You can see as you get to that darker blue, things being built newer. And again, this might help if we differentiate the colors a little bit. It does help a little bit online because you can zoom in and get a better idea of that color. But and what you'll see later on the dashboard, kind of comparing this, we also have zoning as an overlay that you can kind of map out with these permits to kind of see what are the zoning categories that are kind of experiencing more of that new structure development. So it's kind of interesting. The highest of permits, are really from 2014 to 2018 of new structures, and then you kind of see a dip going into COVID, and then the lowest at 2023 with only 6. And then bumping all the way back up in 2024 to 12 permits. So just getting an idea of where new things are going from an infrastructure standpoint within the town of Telluride through this map.
So just to comment here, most of what's going on is renovation. So I would say that building permits for new structures is very important, but so is renovations of a certain size. Kathy?
Yeah, I would agree that renovations are maybe equally or more important than new construction. And in
We
my
don't demolish anything around here.
Yeah.
Lately.
And in my time of building, I cannot tell you how many times we went to renovate a structure and we found out the water line and the sewer lines were not sized properly. And suddenly that project had to put them in for the whole block. So there's a lot of infrastructure tied to renovation. Now we could put a size limit on it. And it drives me crazy right now when I go on the town website that renovations are on one page and new structures are on another. And many people who are trying to look up a project that's in their neighborhood, they have no idea of the difference. So it should all be on one page. And this is directed partially to town staff, not to you guys. But I think we really want to see all of it. Some of my most expensive projects were restorations or renovations by the square foot and by the total value. So don't think it's some little teensy tiny remodel, because chances are it is not.
That's a fantastic note. Thanks for bringing that up. We'll definitely include that as well.
Oftentimes picking up the building, moving it to a parking lot, building a basement and then pulling it back. That would be considered not a new structure, but a renovation and remodel.
Yeah.
Oh. Any other questions on this one? Okay, next.
Next, did you skip to, yeah, okay, awesome. So this one's also under community character. So this one is probably a little bit more familiar to you all. So this is the historic structures. So we just took this directly from the historic preservation, historic structure survey. So looking at contributing, supporting, significant landmark, interior, local landmark, non-contributing with qualifications. And so the red boundary you're seeing on this map is the Telluride National Historic Landmark District, and you also have the cemetery included. But again, once you start to see these layers kind of overlap in the online portal, it's really helpful to kind of see, again, that kind of story over time. But this is, yeah, historic structures.
Great.
And to Ben's point earlier as well, I understand it's hard to see the little structures right now, but online you'll be able to really zoom in and see it a little bit more clear.
I think you did a better job on color selection here than on when you did red, brown, and orange all next to each other. That
I'll take
So-
that 1 for 2, 50%.
yeah.
We'll just stick with the typical box of Crayolas, right? The typical 8.
Yeah. Primary and secondary colors
Right.
only will be fine.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah. So this one, lodging, so hotels and STRs, this one is under the economy. So this one is taking we're looking at one, business licenses, but also the short-term rental program records for permitting. And so the red dots are number of short-term rental permits. And then in blue, which is a lot harder to see, so I might emphasize these as well. But you can see the labels on the map are the different lodging options that are short-term rentals, so the different hotels. And the 369 is number of hotel rooms or units in those structures, just to get a comparison of kind of the capacity for rooms and how many people can, purchase a room compared against those short-term rentals.
Angela.
Yes.
We have 2 sets of rules for our short-term rental permits. The ones in the accommodations 1, 2, and commercial and stuff like that have one set of rules. The ones in our residential zones have a very limited. They're very different animals. And I would love to look at this map and see what the residential zoned short-term number of units, the number of them where they're located versus the ones that are in a zone where we have wanted short-term rentals.
Awesome, that's a great note.
Anyone else on this one? It's basically all over town.
Yeah, but I mean, if you glance at the cluster on Davis Street that's above Colorado Avenue, I was like going, what? And then I remembered that's in the accommodation zone. It's, it used to be a hotel. And yeah, so of course they're there. But I mean, there's a real difference, between the ones with the 31-day rule and the ones that don't have the rules.
And Kathy, you're just thinking to show them as a separate color, like a third color on the map?
Yeah, I think
maybe?
we have 2 kinds of short-term rentals, the ones that are very limited to 31 days and a bunch of other rules. And I think it's 31 days. The time I've been on this board, it's been 28 days, it's been 32 days, it's been 30 days, it's been 31 days. I'm never sure what the number is. I usually am, but it changes. But I would love to have those a different color than the ones where we used to pray to have short-term rentals.
Also, I would say the town now is asking for long-term rental permits as well. They're free, but it'd be interesting to see who is actually long-terming, if that's possible.
Well, yeah, my unit's on there. I long-term rent. My unit's on there as a short-term rental, so that makes me really
Yeah.
happy. I have two long-term rentals.
Well, I mean, it would be nice to see, to encourage that, to see, you know, just because you have a license doesn't mean that it's 30 days is, anything over 30 days is long-term. And the historic residential area can do 3 short-term and 3 long-term. So 3 that are over 30 days and 3 that are under 30
No,
days.
but I have yet a different license that's for 6 months or 1 year rentals.
Right, the long-term one, yeah.
The really long-term
Yeah,
ones.
and
Yeah,
that's
and
what I was
that's what we
talking
need to like
Yeah.
also know. Yeah.
And those are the ones that are free now, that if you're renting for long-term, that we're tracking that we didn't used to.
Right.
How do you account for multifamily complexes where you have a combination? Do they just get a red dot?
So yeah, if there's a permit, we have the address and unit, and so it's coming straight from that.
Yeah, but these aren't structures, right? These are.
Oh, yes. So some of these
Yeah.
are all in the same building, correct?
Okay, look at where Hotel Telluride is, and then look above it. That's Tomboy Inn, and you can see there's like dots on top of dots on top of dots. So that's showing
Yes.
it's not every unit there is short-term rented, but
Best Western Motel.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's showing they have more than one dot
Right.
because of,
Yeah.
you know,
But Hotel Telluride only has one dot when it's got 60 something.
well, it's a blue dot
Yeah,
because it's a
but-
hotel.
I guess it
Yeah.
would be helpful, I think, just if you could size the dots maybe, or, I mean, just
Break them into
just the hotel,
neighborhoods?
I mean, well, no, just like Hotel Telluride, it's one dot, but it should be a bigger dot that represents that it's
The
60,
number of rooms.
the
Yeah.
number of rooms and the number of units.
Right.
Yeah.
And Viking Lodge has a blue dot, and it's a condominium complex with combination of long-term, short-term, and owner occupied like myself.
It's not all one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it'd be hard to, when there's that many units.
It would be really hard to represent how many individual permits were shown. For instance, in that one multi-family complex. But it's definitely
but-
not
but
a
it-
blue hotel.
Yeah, I mean, Viking Lodge seems to be, to me, is similar to Tomboy,
Tomboy Inn. Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Hotel
it's got
Telluride?
the old-
Oh, the Tomboy, yes.
Boy. Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
Lodge,
they're condos. It's all one.
right. Whereas
Yes.
Telluride Lodge, where Todd lives, for instance, does seem, it's spread out.
broken out.
So you can see each
Sure, sure.
individual.
Yeah.
But it's also a combination of
Yeah.
owners,
Right.
long terms, and
Mhm.
In short term.
So
I can
I'm
make
not
those-
sure what
those-
this is trying to show, other than just that we have a bunch of short-term rentals. Which
We
we
can-
kind of already know, but
We can aggregate them, or again, kind of classify them out further, as Kathy was mentioning, to show kind of what zoning they are in, and then also for the actual hotels, kind of giving a bigger bubble to show that there's more rooms available there. But it's more, yeah, to kind of help paint that spatial picture of where they are.
Okay.
okay.
And then another one under economy is jobs. So the way this tool is set up online is you can kind of click on the different communities in San Miguel. So this kind of gives a bit more of a regional perspective of, you know, what are those big, where is a lot of that employment happening? And so I kind of crafted this quickly just to kind of show it on a static map. But we pulled this from the US Census. And so this is looking at the different just aggregation of total jobs in an area. So Telluride is housing the most at 2,700. Then Mountain Village follows suit with about 2,000. Unincorporated San Miguel County of about 1,000. And then total jobs in Norwood is a lot smaller at 208. So kind of looking, and then you can kind of see that heat map on San Miguel County and that lower right-hand corner of, a lot of those jobs are filtering into the Box Canyon. So just trying to give a little bit of a perspective, very high level of, where jobs are at in the county and kind of which communities kind of have that base.
I think that Lawson Hill, whether we want to do Upper Lawson or Upper and Lower Lawson, Ilium is kind of Lower Lawson. We have more jobs and probably more residents than Norwood. So I think that's an important breakout because, and that's where jobs can go. That's where we can have industrial development. It's where we can put a lot of things we really need and still keep them close to the two big towns. So I think we really need to know what's in Lawson Hill, and then you guys at this with staff can decide whether you want to do Upper Lawson separate than Lower Lawson. And when you look at housing, you need to include those because that's a rather large number of affordable housing units in both parts of Lawson Hill.
Yeah,
Awesome.
especially with the new PUD that, to see the before and after the roundabout.
The one by the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah,
Both
well, that
commercial
one,
and-
yeah, but that's but there's also new zoning happening down in Ilium, part of Lawson too.
It would be also just interesting for the jobs to be able to have it broken out, kind of like you do the business licenses, so you could kind of see
What kind of
where,
jobs
what,
are-
what kind of jobs they are and where they are.
And I can actually going back to the business licenses, that seemed like a good segue. I did a quick survey of the data in terms of what's categorized as manufacturing to respond to your earlier question. And it's very interesting. These are the types of businesses with that categorization: brewery, like brewing companies, distilleries, there's pool systems, machinery, metal fabrication, awning, stoneworks, doors, millwork, roofing, engineering, forging, kind of in that space. There was also one pertaining to cars that must be in the manufacturing space. But those are sort of the broad categories. The other interesting thing, just in looking at the more granular data, we have the data to be able to really refine that map into a more compelling story. So we can work on that as a team.
And just
Professional
for
services.
just for staff to know and for the consultants to know, at least in the upper part of the Lawson Hill PUD, to be in business, you must hold either a Town of Telluride or a Mountain Village business license. It does not mean that you're working or, that your business is there, but you have to have one of the two business licenses. I'm not sure, because I don't have any businesses in Ilium. I'm not sure what the rules are down there, but I think it's similar. And so we need to sort that out and not lump some businesses into town or to the village that really belong in Lawson.
Yeah, going outside of the town of Telluride, I think is pretty important because those are our community still. It's not, even though we have certain incorporated area, definitely the regional economy is based on all these other satellites, if you will. So having that kind of data is really important because it will help identify potentially where the economic diversity or other concerns might either be located or develop in the future, or where we're lacking.
Yeah. Are you going to call on Sherb?
Oh, Sheriff, you have your hand up. Thank you. There is that little yellow dot. Hi, please.
I had two comments. One was that the business license, you're self-reporting. So for example, I heard engineering in there under manufacturing, and I would consider that a service.
Professional service.
Professional
Yeah.
service.
Professional service. And I think there's probably quite a few things like that where, people are just reporting how they think of their business. Say, I'm manufacturing plan sets as an engineer, so I'm making something, but where would it fall? And so we might need to actually suss out how we want to decide it, not based on what box people are checking. And then I think that one thing that's interesting about this conversation is that where these jobs are and how it ties to where people are living has a lot to do with transportation. And that's where I see Lawson really fitting in terms of diverting some of the heavy traffic that comes into town, for example, and keeping it, you know, just sort of filtering it as you go into the Box Canyon so that it's less intensive on the small town of Telluride has a pretty serious parking problem, for example, and things like that. So um, having the data set help us understand better how people are circulating into these different spaces and when during the day.
Yeah,
makes
when Alpine Lumber, whatever first builders first is, when that was located in the town of Telluride, the amount of traffic it generated, all the big trucks coming in with the lumber, all the small trucks coming to buy the lumber, all of their trucks trying to deliver the lumber around the region. In 1994, when that moved out of town, it made all the difference in the world. And that's an important thing for people to keep in mind. That's a really good point, Sheriff. It made a huge difference. We'd be in total gridlock paralysis right now if that had not happened.
Cool. Okay, any more, Ben?
Yeah, well, so this one should be pretty familiar. This one we just kind of put under community character too, just what is what is zoning, the zoning, and kind of how the other layers that we've shown kind of fall on top of that. So not much to say on this one, just your town zoning. But helpful to have in this dashboard too, so people kind of re-reference themselves with it.
Okay, yeah, Todd.
To me, every time I look at this, it says one of the things we ought to be thinking about in our new plan is consolidating some of this stuff, simplifying it
Mm,
so that we don't have,
15 different categories that.
well, there's not 50, but there's a bunch. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
make a note. Any questions on this map? All right, next.
I think that might be it. Yeah, I'm going to, Kristen, do we want to get into the kind of discussion questions right now or run through the phase summary or have Ben show the dashboard that he wanted to show really quick? Where do you want us to go right now?
Sure. These are all great directions. I think one thing I just want to state before we pick a direction is this consulting team has under development so many additional map layers. And when we come back to you next month as a P&Z, we're going to be focused on environment and recreation, housing, transportation. And so there's much more in the works, in progress, and then looking to that vetting process with this team, with staff, department heads, et cetera, to get it right before we launch it broadly. So just stating that, I think, Ben, if you were going to show like a quick look at the dashboard and what that looks like so that I can have a sense of that and how this all comes together, I think that would be helpful as a next step. And then perhaps we can dive into those specific questions and really start to get that input. That would be my thought, if that's a direction you all feel is appropriate.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, Kristen. So I will do this very quick because perhaps some of you have already seen this a little bit, but this is our community character dashboard so far. So it is an interactive map. And so what you're seeing right now is we have those building permits out to the left and we have those historic structures. And when you kind of put your mouse over it, you see the count in total. And then as you zoom in, those totals will automatically update. So once you start to think of all those elements coming together, mentioning transportation and jobs, and you have this map to zoom into, where those jobs are, what types of jobs are, what is that traffic count on the road, that's where we think this, like what I am calling loosely a storybook, really kind of writes the pages for itself, which is really exciting. So that's kind of, again, the goal and the reason why we want to do this. We want people to be able to zoom in, go to different parts of the county for that regional context to get that understanding, go to different parts, blocks of Telluride, and just get a quick little glimpse of summarized data. And on this community character dashboard as well, we have zoning. So that's where you can really start to see where those historic structures are, where those building permits have been. And especially when we add those renovations, that will just add to kind of that interesting piece. And again, just getting those totals kind of updated automatically makes this really user friendly, which is really the biggest key. We don't want people to have to be clicking on all of these things. We want that information to be right in front of you as you move around. So that is just a very quick glimpse, but you can kind of zoom in and out, go to the different communities, scroll around, and kind of get from each of those plan themes, again, just through existing conditions, and those will change as we go into plan development, but that infrastructure components, the housing, the environment, recreation, and so forth. So just wanted to highlight that really quickly on kind of how that dynamic works for the online map.
And do you want to just kind of slightly zoom in and just show them
Yes.
how that data changes? Because the idea of this is to not have a static existing conditions map that's in a printed document that isn't interactive, but instead what Ben and consultant team has been developing is something that's very tangible and lets you think about the issues in this community, and that will be alive and living and accessible to everyone over the years ahead and updated automatically over time. So just roughly, we don't need to spend too much time here, but just seeing how the data changes, and you can zoom and learn and zoom and really start to analyze data. So thank you, Ben. That was great.
So existing conditions to me also says what's built out and within our historic guidelines versus what is still available for new construction, for what is being renovated, what has been renovated, and at what point, to get a sense of where we are in our housing stock. Is that something you are developing?
Yes, we are. So that one is going to be really big in the housing one, and that's kind of our biggest data set kind of compilation, where we're talking with a bunch of different, the county, the town, San Miguel Regional Housing Authority, and we're trying to get addresses for all deed restricted housing, the categories under that. We want to split that out by ownership units and rental units. We want to look at the affordable units as well, mitigation units, town constructed, where employees may be. And so that will be a really huge one that we're really taking extra time to vet to make sure we kind of really paint that picture. So that is one that we'll be presenting later on.
I need Shara.
Yeah, Sheriff, you have your hand up. Thank you.
So my original comment was something that I've brought up in the past, which is who's our audience for these maps? And I think that's important because that might help us decide on the categories. And I agree with Todd, like to simplify it and to maybe not put so much information on there that you can't either find what you're looking for or it's not a helpful tool. So again, who's our audience? And then the other thing that I'd like to see on, and maybe this is coming on a future map, is the schools, because they have a really big influence on traffic patterns, and our rush minute that we have in the morning is growing, and it coincides, school hours coincide with a lot of other movement of vehicles through our community, including construction workers coming in and people ending their workday at the end of the day.
Todd has.
Yes, Todd.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about a year ago in starting all this data collection was, can we get a handle on population density, where people actually are living, as opposed to it's in the short-term pool and it's in and out. have we made any progress toward that?
Ben, do you want to take that one? Because I know you're doing work in that space and identifying data that could tell that story.
Yeah, we're still working on that one. It is a bit hard to find granular enough information to really give us that detail. We've talked about maybe trying to, for lack of a better term, kind of find a way where we can kind of illustrate that data through more of our public involvement or through releasing an online tool that allows people to kind of put points of where they are, where they're going, where they live. But we're hoping to maybe kind of paint that picture a little bit more through the work that Sarah's been doing through housing and through kind of combining these data sets. But we're still working on that for to keep it short.
Yeah, so I'll get on my regular soapbox. We don't have it up on the wall. I don't know if it's really ever been up there. We used to color a map every few years. We went to HARC, we went to P&Z, we went to our C-Case board, our other boards. It was a fun exercise for each board. We colored one color for full-time owner occupant. We've colored another color for a part-time resident that's here only, a few weeks or a few months a year. We colored a different color if they were short-term renting or long-term renting. And we did every building in town. And between like those 6 boards, there was somebody like Angela that could tell us approximately how many, not exactly, but pretty close, how many units at Viking are long-term, how many are mostly vacant, and how many are short-term. And it really went quick. And it was a real team building exercise for each board when we do it. And I do not know, this is where I want to scream or be in really loud fonts and capital letters. I don't know why we haven't done that for a number of years.
I think that's really important, and we definitely take that suggestion very seriously. And I think what we had talked about as a team is, for the next meeting, housing is one of the topics and one of the map layers that will be shown. And so that's the one we're looking for, that vetting. So once Ben feels like it's far enough along, which will be for that February meeting, and we'll send it to you in advance as well, but we can do the big printout, have you do that exercise here first, and then we can bring it to other groups as well. So I think we want that base map to be something that shows what data is available, and then we try to vet it for accuracy, if that works for you, and that'll be next month.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
that some of the, like CAFE or one of those groups would probably be happy to meet in their location with 1 or 2 town staff members and go over and tell you what they know about their housing, because that's probably our weak link,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we absolutely
Yeah.
just taking a little time to get that base map
Yeah.
together for that vetting.
Okay.
Can I
That'll be fun.
I know you had a question, but I wanted to clarify Todd's. Yours is more of like, is there a way of collecting data to show more of like a density of retention and more of like a time span of like areas or cores within the community that maybe do have longer term, like the data right now is like, you can tell the difference between an STR and a, second, blah, 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 blah. But yours is more of like a time frame of like actually seeing like in certain areas, longevity of people staying around versus being more transient. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, and it gets at community, it gets at housing. I forget what the other key word is, but our overall goal stated years ago was to have lights on.
Yeah.
Right. No, dark. Yeah.
And when
that's not a
we've
problem.
got short-term rentals, we have lights on and off and on and off, but that's better than being dark all the time or most of the time, kind of thing.
So, I mean, from those data points too, would it be more of like, I mean, that's its own graphic where it has these colors and stuff, but like even using that same data, you could make an overlay that kind of shows that kind of nature. So that way, maybe that one is more of a static, but when someone views it, they can be like, oh, wow, these kind of areas kind of have that kind of solid foundation where people are there more often versus that kind of.
Right, and that'll get into
Instead of let the
transportation too.
map-
Yeah.
Well, and at
Right.
this point, it sounds like we should have more data than we ever have if we have long-term permits that people are renting to a long-term permit person. the short-term mixed residential ones. And then obviously you have the houses that don't have permits that are either permanent residents or part-time residents. So we have enough data through all these different permits now that you would think we'd get closer to.
Well, I don't,
Yeah.
we know the part-time residents versus the full-time
Well, I
residents.
mean, claiming residency.
So Kathy,
Yeah.
I mean, one way you can partially get to that is looking between the tax records, looking what the zip code is for the mailing address for that, where that tax bill goes versus the actual address.
Voting.
So, and also voter registrations, and you can kind of use those two to
Yeah,
get a
but
pretty good guess and get your map pretty close.
And Ben has actually, Ben has already done that exercise as part of the draft. It does need some serious vetting as we were looking at
So-
the results of that, but it does give you that foundational piece. So that'll be one of the components, but it definitely needs vetting is what Steph
so
identified.
what are you
in re-
doing where the part-time resident, one of either the husband or the wife votes here and the other one votes in the other location? Because they want to be able to weigh in here and weigh in elsewhere. And there's
interesting one.
probably 50% of our part-time residents do that.
How do you know this,
Probably the
Kathy?
vetting that's.
My clients, I was building for them and they told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, Sheriff. More?
Yeah, so one of the things is that I was thinking of that map. I thought at first, I was like, well, we can assume that anyone that's short-term renting their place isn't living in it full time. But then I remembered the map where the map was really handy. It taught me something I already knew, but it showed it in graphic form, which is that, for example, all of Galena doesn't have any short-term rentals, but there's not full-time residents there. Those are beautiful big homes that no one lives in a lot of the time, for example. And I can also say as a parent that is, interacting with the school every day, that there's just this sort of pack of people, with little kids and grown kids walking on their own that come from the south side of town and walk up to the schools, in their respective neighborhoods. And then there's a lot of people driving into town because a lot of families don't live in Telluride anymore. And that's anecdotal, but it is to what Kathy's saying. Not only do we want to get granular about what's happening in Telluride, but where are all those people? Where are all those people with kids? Because they come to town and then they spend money here and they work here and they do things in this town, even if their voting address isn't town of Telluride. And they drive their cars into town,
Yeah.
And one more
Thank you.
thing is, I've always had friends since I got here who short-term their residential houses. They lived in them full-time. It was the only house they had. They short-term rented them, maybe up to 31 days. It was usually about 14 days. They'd rent them at Bluegrass or at Film Festival and maybe at Christmas or New Year's. And that was how they paid their property taxes and how they paid their insurance. They would go out of town. They would go camp in the woods. They would go, see family elsewhere. And I know one family that's still, they don't have to do it economically, but until quite recently, they were still short-terming their house twice a year and going and literally camping in the woods. So that's another thing that's going on here. So you would have to color that house 2 colors. It's it's short-term rental, and it's a full-time resident family.
It's hard to track.
Yes, Todd.
Changing subject slightly, but where we're going in terms of economy and bleeding into our next agenda item, can we overlay, and Ben, this is a a challenge. All these different businesses that you've got, all the different colors with tax revenues. So
Proportional?
proportion.
Sales tax, yeah.
Well, you can, I'm sure. Ben is
Well,
a
I'm sure
whiz,
can.
so.
Is it
You
something
can
that's
do
going to
anything.
be? Yeah.
Am I- it-
Marijuana would be big.
Well, lodging and marijuana, but then the ski area is gonna,
Yeah,
compared to everything else is gonna be
huge.
a huge blot.
And I think that gets to economic diversity. We've had quite an economic shock here. And I think everybody's thinking about what is it that we can do, what do we have that we can take better opportunities of, stress better so that we can diversify our economic base. We've been, sitting on a golden egg for quite a while, and it just got cracks in it. So we need to do a little more of that and getting to the data that shows what other people are doing and what kind of space needs do they have that we might look to develop somewhere so that that encourages that industry. That's the manufacturing part. Or could we attract, if we had the space, that would offset some of our dependency on one or two industries?
And
Sheriff,
that's actually, oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that that's a great segue into actually one of our questions, which is about key goals for community character and economy. And so we talked a little bit about diversity of the economic makeup of Telluride, but then what else maybe comes to mind? And Sheriff, I don't know if you want to go first, and then we can transition to that, I think, in the next 7 minutes.
Okay, hang on here. Sheriff, you have a question or comment? Or
It's
do
a
that?
comment about, so I've been trying to think back on the slides that we've seen and wondering, what in those slides could we do without, for example? And one thing that comes to mind, and it's to one of the points that you made, I think, Angela, was the one showing when things were built. And this was, I think, new construction. And we talked about also how renovation needs to be included in there. But what I would actually like to know, and I'd like to know what other people think of this, isn't what has been done, but what could still be done.
Yes.
Like how many vacant lots are there? And then I think it was also the comment was made of, what is the status? Like when were things recently remodeled? And, so that we can get a sense of how much more building is going to be happening in our community going forward. So my main point is about not putting a lot of time into creating graphs that maybe aren't going to help with this, what we're trying to accomplish with this project of the vision for the future. And obviously we want to look back, but the data that we need could, in my mind, is what might be coming.
Yeah, it needs to serve us a little bit better to look forward.
And prepare.
Right.
Right.
Megan, you wanted to go on with another question or ask a question out of this group?
Oh, yeah, I think Sophie
Mentioned
just
7
mentioned
minutes.
it.
I'm trying to move things along.
Were there key goals for either economy or character that you thought of as we were talking through some of the maps and the data? Because just keep in mind, some of the conversations that we're having, we can directly pull those also into goals and policies. So it's not just about the map and the data. It's also about what actually goes into the plan.
Anyone?
What was the question?
The question is, what are important short-term and long-term goals related to key theme of
Oh, sorry.
community character or key theme of economy?
Right.
Whichever one, we can take community character first if you want, or we can take economy since it's on everybody's mind.
Mhm.
The economy.
I think they're pretty co-joint
Yeah.
or intermixed. And it's, I think that Sheriff's point that the ski area is a giant dot in the economic thing. We've really learned that. So I think we need to, you know, I'm not sure what all, but we need to work on all of that. And I think our community character makes us a little bit different than some of the other mountain towns, though I know every other mountain town also thinks that about themselves, and it's all legitimate. But I think, I think our community character could be part of our pitch for coming here when there's no snow or for other seasons or diversifying our economy. So that's something I think we need to work on.
So I'm going to ask each commissioner to contribute, and then we have a member of the public who might want to as well.
Okay, I'll start.
Please.
Well, I think the one thing that we're very good at is music and festivals. And I've been to Aspen, I've been to Durango for the Snowdown, I've been to there's a Ular grass, there's a Winter Wonderland grass. I mean, there's no Aspen does it on the slope at the landing. So there's no reason why we couldn't continue that. I feel like we're already known for that. We can do some sort of attraction that brings people regardless of the snow. Like they could be there and maybe it's not great snow, but there's other great things to do. And I don't know why, is there a reason why we don't have like a dedicated sledding area that people just have to go to Firecracker Hill and kill themselves? Or, I mean, can we do something that's a little bit more child friendly that doesn't matter if there's powder everywhere? They have tube things at other resorts. No, that's not our decision, but these are just ideas that.
Well, that fits in.
That Ace Hardware don't get left at our lodging, place of lodging all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, what you're saying, and I think the bigger umbrella goal is to provide more diversity in our economy. And you go back to Pam's Olean, and that was, we're going to be all things to all people. We need to be creative, and we need to have a university, and
Yep.
Yeah.
well, and
Well, we got the Smithsonian.
we've done a lot of things as a community, but at the same time, we just keep moving more and more eggs into
The same basket.
ski and golf. Your Ben's chart about the business licenses, and if we cross that with tax revenues, I would bet that the 308 construction out of town
Business license.
business licenses have a whole lot more revenue than all of the retail combined. And most of it, as Kathy said earlier, is going into rebuilds.
Yep.
And we're missing that. But that's not, in my mind, that's not a goal, is let's rebuild everything and make our economy work on that.
No, because it's finite.
No.
No, it's not. I mean, that when I came to town 30 years ago, it was, we've got 5 more years of building and then we're done.
It's just,
No. Well, we need to get a handle on
Well, it's
that
always 5
because
more,
there
right?
is, there has been some building done since then.
But we have lots of legal scrape and replaces.
Yep.
We have a ton of those. And
And we should know where they
Yeah.
are and what they are.
in 40 years of building, I built on some of the same houses 4 or 5 times. They
Right.
get bored and they just add on, or they
Interior,
redo the whole interior. They have nothing else to do. And they like construction. They like being an architect. It's what they think, they're being a designer, and they just do that over and over again. It's interesting.
how does a resort attract like the X Games and that kind of thing? Like something
Have to
larger.
have the
than-
terrain. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of things that people would come to regardless of skiing.
Yes.
It's winter.
It's the after snow scenario.
Yeah.
I just went to skijoring last weekend in my
That's
town.
so fun.
And we don't really have any snow.
We do it down Main Street, just like you're right. Or something.
Yeah, they do it in downtown
Steamboat.
Salt Lake.
I love it.
Which way?
I saw a map on the floor in a hallway today of a ski joring loop around downtown Telluride. I don't know who's doing
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Oh, I know. Let's
Oh.
do it.
Yeah.
Next week in Crested Butte is the alley oop or whatever they call it. It's Nordic skiing in the alleys.
I love it.
And it's a
That's
it's a big
great.
party thing.
Yeah,
I know old Dylan does, or new Dylan does that, but
Yeah.
That's so
there's a
cool.
couple of things like that, that to your point are still winter, but they're not only alpine skiing.
exactly.
Okay.
I think the other part of this, and Charles, I'm going to ask you the same question, is what can we do to diversify culturally? You mentioned music opportunities, but we have some very creative people in this
Mm.
community. And I think between the AHA School and Telluride Arts and others, the galleries and whatever, we have a very creative
Mm.
group, but we don't do anything specific in the winter. We have plein air. We have the haha for
Mm.
AHA in July. So
Yeah.
it's that kind of, what kind of cultural features are we missing to be a fully diverse community? And we have a lot of people who manufacture a lot of art here,
Mm.
either welding or painting or, and is that an avenue that we could take better advantage of? I don't know. These are not necessarily take advantage of, but there are opportunities that may be staring us in the face with
Sure.
people who are already here
Yeah.
that we could support
Yeah.
their efforts.
The museum.
Yeah, the
And
museum,
the they have history walks based in the summertime, but not in the wintertime.
right?
And Charles, you know this, but like building the igloo every year is so fun. And I mean, that's a secret and everybody, that's okay. But what if we did one in the town park? But what if we have talented people? I'm always so surprised when every year the igloo goes up and I'm part of it, but I'm like, how do we do that? And just like if we were to bring something fun like that to town park and people could I don't know, something fun that kids could enjoy.
Charles,
Um,
your contribution?
okay, I would first, just on the economy, I mean, we are a tourist-based economy and we always will be. I think what we're trying to do is diversify the types of tourist we
Right.
are trying to attract. So to Lee Shay's point about the X Games, I mean, we're not going to get the X Games, but there are lots of smaller X game type events that you can attract. Winter, what we're doing in the summer, why can't all of those things be done in the winter? I mean, music festival, maybe not outdoor music festivals, but we got lots of indoor.
Well, we have the
It was-
warehouse. It was an outdoor event space.
Yeah.
And Aspen does it really well. I mean, everybody's in coats and hats, but
Yeah.
they're dancing.
I think we just need to, look how we can tweak what we already somewhat have to help diversify it just from downhill skiing.
We have two others. Do you want to
Dave.
contribute? Dave?
Let's see, what about
Dave, say your name for the
Dave,
record.
can you go to the mic?
Dave Peterson?
Thank you. President of Telluride?
Yeah,
Miguel, yep.
yeah. So anyway, is there a way to incentivize families with children moving into town? And so that so that means they're full-time school residents. And that means the houses are lit up instead of just being dark. Right now, I walk up Oak Street to get home and like there's one or two houses in 3 blocks that have lights on at night. That's disgusting. Way to increase the middle class, And then with all this data, this is great looking at pretty pictures, but could you guys maybe propose legislation? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. When anybody goes to do something here, they've got to look at the rules and the legislation and pass this off to town council so they can actually start legislating the direction that you guys want to go. And I think that's about it. Thank you very much.
Coming. Piper.
Well, I know that I am not technically public, but I wanted to tell you, this past summer, I was having dinner on the patio at Uno Dos Tres, and there was a lovely Navajo man there with his children. And we got to talking, and he told me that he has a couple of albums out and whatever. And he was talking about how the Navajo people and the other tribes have long dreamed of coming to Telluride and having a powwow.
Hmm.
And the only reason that they don't do it is because none of them can afford to stay here.
Yeah.
So all of these things are great, but to his point of affordability, there's no middle class in Telluride anymore. And I would personally love to see the Native people have events and be more involved in the town. And wouldn't it be wonderful to see a powwow in Town Park and something like that? So I think it's going to be a very big challenge to really truly diversify away from the wealth.
I mean, I wonder if there's like a nonprofit subsidies sort of that you could, you're not going to change the prices because they're private businesses, but to subsidize, to attract, to your point, groups that maybe aren't coming because of the affordability issues.
No. Okay, how are we with our,
Little comment.
oh yeah. But hang on. Yes, Dave.
Let's see. You've got the employee housing and my God at Lawson Hill. And the 3% rule, is there any way that you could just say 4% and 1% of that goes back to the people living there so that when they quit working in the R1 school district, they get that 1% in their pocket and they've got some bucks to go someplace else. So they don't lose everything when they move out, when they get kicked out.
And we're going to talk about housing when next time? So that's a very good point. Somebody make a note. And come back, Dave.
Could I say something on the record, even though I'm not on this?
Sure.
We were talking about diversifying as well as like festivals, and I keep on hearing stuff about snow and cold and winter, but Angela had said something about after snow, and I'm going to continue to scream from the rooftops until this happens more often. And this isn't really the answer to everything, but Telluride as a destination place for cycling events. That's the reason why I'm in Telluride, and they have all dried up. And I know all the people have thrown these events, and people have also just like dropped the ball. But like when you talk about bringing people here to do outdoors, but also to spend money and stay in a place, that's one out of the many things. But I feel like we lack so much in that area because it's really hard to actually throw those kinds of events. But like when we talk about culture and cycling culture, from my understanding and also being around and seeing the amount of e-bikes for children and adults, there really isn't as strong of a cycling culture that you would think of a place here. And I think that is some way that we could stimulate a lot of, economic growth in wintertime from snow biking, fat biking and all that kind of stuff, but also like during the spring and whatever. But I'm now on the bike rampage where I want to start because we missed out on it last year.
The other part of the cultural additions that we have and we can take more advantage of is that we have a lot of great entrepreneurs in this community. And they just need to be set loose to be more creative about and find out what obstacles might be there in order to bring or develop a lot of businesses that we haven't thought of yet. And one of those is more eventing, like you're talking about.
I was going to say for something like that, I don't know why we wouldn't do it like in early May when it's off season. You don't really, I know you don't have the restaurants and stuff, but you could easily get lodging and get a big event and have the bike racing and enjoy the area. I feel like our off seasons are kind of getting shorter and shorter and maybe non-existent in the fall, but we have these gaps that we don't do anything. I'm wondering if maybe that's an affordability advantage that we could take advantage of because it's low.
Well, and to Ben's point, we used to have.
Yeah.
There was mountain
a good
biking,
number
gravel,
of
yeah.
Events here.
And just lodging, yeah.
No,
Oh,
they're
no.
just gone. They
Or
went,
the people are gone, or.
The
we did them-
organizers
organizers are
faded
gone.
away.
For
some
many
of them are
different
still
reasons.
there, but.
Let's find out what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
CDOT.
okay, what's,
And I think we also have to partner with our regional towns because I can't do it, Chuck did, but you can go, Telluride, Uray, Silverton,
Oh, yeah.
Durango,
Great.
Mancos or Dolores and back to Rico to here and do it as a 4-day ride, and then there's lodging and whatever, and you could either have a car that takes your luggage around or you just travel super
Yeah.
light, but why we're not promoting that 4-day ride, or
it's
do it.
wonderful. I've
yeah,
done it. It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, that should be something that everybody aspires to do once in their life or more. So,
So
Can I
have we
spearhead?
answered all of your questions?
Actually,
Well, we're
team.
yes.
saving some for future meetings.
Well, good. I hope. The
Nope.
4 that we have on here, have we addressed what you had wanted to ask us?
Can I just add one more to our
We're on a roll.
diversifying? No. The gondola closes down for 3-4 months out of the year, and when the gondola closes, businesses shut down, tourists don't come, and I think we really need to be trying to push that. It's not year round maybe, but we need to be pushing that envelope a little farther on how long the gondola is open.
well, maybe when we have a new gondola, which might not be in my lifetime, but,
Solar power.
but maybe we can have the maintenance schedule be that it can run many more months out the year, because that really does make a big difference.
does.
Yeah.
For both towns, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, for the region.
Yeah.
Good point.
Megan?
No, this
A
was
wrap?
fantastic. I think this was exactly what we needed. There's some very thoughtful comments on data. We can go back and take another look and drill down a little bit further. And then I think the next one, if we focus on housing, what I might propose, because that was such a big part of the discussion, is that Kristen, maybe we have a hard copy map of one of the housing maps.
Yes.
And
Excellent.
maybe we can do some of that ground truthing, maybe even before or after the meeting. But this is exactly kind of the conversation that we're looking for. So, kind of that first take on what we're presenting and what we found, and then, what else is it that we need to dig into? So I appreciated the conversation about the businesses, but also being able to tie that to tax revenue and better understand what that looks like. Diving down into some of the business types a little bit more, separating out some of the different types of short-term and long-term housing options, et cetera. So thank you for being spot on comments and thoughts this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just to wrap up here, thank you. I wanted to point out some dates. Our next meeting, which we're going to focus on housing, and what was the other, or is that just going to be big enough?
Well, it might be. Maybe we start with transportation and then go to housing.
Yeah.
Okay, so be sure to be here for that. March 26th is the following one. April, we know people travel a lot, so that's still under discussion. So I think we'll leave it there for now, but the 26th of February and the 26th of March.
And what's the May date, just to be,
The May date is the 28th. It's after Memorial Day.
okay. And February,
February
26th.
26th,
Okay.
March 26th, May
Yeah.
28th.
No April.
Well,
okay.
we're not sure. We
Okay.
we may not have a comprehensive plan participation because
Yeah.
we don't know everybody's travel schedule. So let's pull that together as well. It would be the 23rd.
And even though it's really late April, we have to realize that there's still, I think, a stigma in our community that anything you do in the month of April, you're trying to sneak it by somebody, so it must be good, bad, or evil, or,
Right.
you know,
we have-
something's wrong with it.
we need to
So,
be transparent.
yeah, so doing nothing in the month of April is sometimes advisory.
Right.
Yeah.
Projects aside, depending on how that works, but okay. Thank you very much for participation on your end also. Cherub, stay with us.
Yeah.
We have,
You can stay and listen to our Main Street
right?
discussion.
They might not want to.
So, yeah.
Thank you all so much. See you soon.
Presentation of,
guys.
so next item on work session, presentation of findings of the 2025 Commercial Vitality Setback Survey, and Benjamin has some info for us. I think you passed out something. Everybody have?
I did. It's just the report that I generated, but I'm just gonna show you the presentation. Gotta wait for this little share screen in the way. Anyways, I'll be pretty brief on this, but basically every year we want to go out, hit the streets, do a little ACVR, annual commercial vitality inventory report by yours truly. It was a cold day. I don't remember the forecast completely. But it's really to understand at least scope wise of Main Street around, the land use code, around service, spaces versus retail, et cetera. And so basically it's a running Excel spreadsheet we have internally. And by going out on the street and recording them, we're kind of swapping in and out these data points so we can kind of understand as they change over the years. In my handout, two graphs from the Excel spreadsheets that have more of a percentage as well as just the linear feet so you can quickly digest kind of where we're at. I'll flip through this real quick. Summary on December 4th, 2025, town staff, me. As also said by David Hunter, what was it that you said? The two people you work with, inspiring people, something of the sort. Anyways, it was me.
Okay, moving on.
Anyways, but yeah, so basically the section right there is 3213. Establishing the vitality setback, and this is just us doing maintenance. So I walked along and took these recordings. I'm going to summarize this quickly in those Excel spreadsheets, but basically we have a total of 2,976 lineal feet of frontage. It's included in the inventory for all the businesses. Generally, each of the blocks contain 250 lineal feet of frontage. The only exception is 200 feet of lineal frontage on the south side of Colorado Ave between South Aspen Street and the town's open space at Oak Street. These tables will show the amount of service commercial remains below the 625 lineal feet threshold, which is part of the code. So a lot of the time we'll get phone calls making sure that if someone does want to put a business and it's under that definition, if they can actually, do that. And right now, since we do have an extra surplus, if we wanted people there, we could. That being said, since the last inventory in 2024, the amount of service commercial uses has decreased by approximately 55.5 feet, which is a substantial jump from the previous year's report of a reduction of only 11. The amount of vacant frontage, this is kind of like the big highlight. We had 3.1% the previous year. Currently, we're at 6.5. We'll kind of digress into this conversation later, but what's interesting about this report, it's only on Main Street, but as you guys know, if you turn a corner, we have quite a lot of vacant spots as well. So that's kind of something that we wanted to kind of talk about as well. But currently, vacant spaces has remained below 10% since the beginning of inventory, with a high point in 2009 at 8.4%. Retail, restaurant, and office or professional uses has also decreased. We'll continue to monitor, stay tuned for this year's as well. Basically, as I said, we had this running Excel spreadsheet. I go out and go to each business. I clock if they're the same as previous or if they've changed hands and what does that go under. We have undeveloped land, entry vestibules, open breezeways, retail, bar, restaurant, office, theater, cultural, hotel, vacant, residential, and government offices. And so this is a conglomerate of all that spreadsheet of all 12 blocks, kind of giving you these linear feet, as you can see on the bottom, highlighted in green. I did make this nice little graph to just quickly visualize. I grabbed 2008, 2021, and then just the last year as well. Obviously, these have some interesting spikes. As you know, 2008 wasn't that great of a year. as well as 2021 wasn't that great of a year for differing reasons. But basically, I think the biggest spike is seeing a change of like office spaces, but then the difference in vacancies this year, you can kind of see that jump. This mouse is lagging, but you can kind of see this difference as it's tracking the years and the colors and some of those waves kind of generating. But overall, most of the uses themselves have kind of remained similar and in tandem during the years, but those are kind of the interesting kind of notations of that. I did add a pie chart just showing our current inventory makeup. You could kind of grab this off the Excel spreadsheet, but this is kind of a quick summation with the colors and stuff. But obviously 38.3, we're seeing a large amount of retail spaces. This data is not as minuscule as the comp plan stuff where we can kind of dive into it and chop it up. But it goes, you know, retail, hotel, and then kind of a smaller subset in there. Next slide. This is just a quick one. I did put a note if any of these or if you notice anything, please email me or send other information. But this is apparently every year recording at least the changes. And so going by and saying, okay, well, at 394, it used to be T-Carn, but now it's Sunglass Hutch, seeing kind of that shell game. And it is nice to see, though, at least some businesses are remaining.
Musical chairs.
Musical chairs, yes. And what's really nice, though, is at least some of this in that pattern making. And I think recording this is to see some of these businesses remaining in Telluride. Maybe they're having to find better situations economically, rent, etc. But seeing them at least remain on the main drag versus disappearing altogether. And kind of in the mix are a couple of vacancies. I did want to note, you know, the Nugget is technically sooner or later going to get done. We don't know when, but it is technically vacant because you can't go inside of it. But there's a couple of these listed, and I did want to say if there are any additional information you want to add, please email me. But yeah, thank you.
I just want to take a moment to give a huge thank you to Ben. He was assigned this project as a blank slate. Take this on. He did it top to bottom and did such a tremendous job for this team and for this town. So
It was fun.
so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, a lot of fun. There was, I didn't realize I'd ever become a detective, but there was going into certain places and asking them questions, and people were also looking at me funny. I said, "Don't worry, I'm with the government."
I'm with
That went over well.
Yeah, but no, it was enjoyable. So
Thank you,
I
Ben.
was,
Yeah.
I was,
Any observations?
I was just gonna say, it used to be a favorite thing for
Staff
two
to
of
do.
two of the
Yeah.
planners to go out. You might want to do it in October when things are open and the weather's
And
nice.
warmer.
You don't have to go on a
It was very cold.
potential blizzard
Yeah.
or below 0 day.
Right.
Yeah, but I would recommend when the gondola is still running and
Yeah.
we still have people in town, everything's open, go in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this year, because of the strain on everybody.
Yeah.
We might want to do an addendum to this.
Yeah.
During the musical chair season, which is April.
I wanted to know, I think literally, so this was that early December, and even noting, like, I was kind of looking into the nuances, but like even hearing about like Latin Creation closing their doors and stuff, but like they also count as like almost part of that vestibule space because they're like downstairs. But like even understanding though, like after that report, other people struggling as well as like closing, like there definitely needs to be like an update in the next 6 months. So.
Yeah.
I didn't know Latin Creations.
I don't want to specify the verbiage. I was told they were closing their doors, but in other, I don't know if it was fully closed or not, but like even hearing that in meetings and stuff and understanding though, like in this time frame of a month or so, things kind of changing. So
Yeah.
If someone wants to.
At some point tonight, and I think maybe this is the best time, talk about vacancies and how to disincentivize vacancies. I mean, I read today that the ledge is considering allowing towns to choose to do a residential vacancy tax. They think it will take several more years before they can get it through the state ledge. But I would love to know if we can do a commercial vacancy tax and how that would happen. And, you know, obviously, if you're the nugget and you're closed for a major renovation of many millions of dollars, that's one thing. But there's, you know,
Third Arts.
Telluride Arts was kicked out. The owner's mad at us. And so that's why he's choosing not to rent. The Pescado was kicked out because a realtor told the owner of the building it would sell better vacant. I'm hoping it sits there unsold for 10 years as revenge. But, you know, I would like to see how we can, you know, force people to either pay the missing sales tax, pay, you know, stuff like that, or get it together and be open.
Yeah.
You know, the old bistro site has a major renovation in order to ever get a restaurant license, but why isn't it being used as retail? They don't need, they could just ignore the.
Or even a food truck.
Yeah, or something, but the, you know, the kitchen, the kitchen,
They used to have.
they don't have to,
They
It's-
still.
The cocaine barn, you mean?
They
Yeah.
still have a private
Right.
property vending permit on that patio, but nobody's using it.
Yeah. So I mean, those are, I'm just calling out some of our vacancies and I would love to see if there's a way to encourage the owners to either have to pay the difference of the impact on town or to lower their rent or to get over their anger at the town and whatever.
I think that was part of conversation too, loosely in the sense that like the incentivizing to the push and pull, because if someone owns the space and they don't have an incentive to rent it out, but let it lay there until they get, you know, that next gold mine, you know, someone who's going to come in and make them happy. That's the part of that push and pull, which I agree. But in conversations, people are more upset of like seeing, especially papered up, and the Telluride Arts is a great example, but like even if you go around the corner, under
Sure.
Tommy Hines, who
Down to earth it was.
yeah, same thing. And it's people are like, well, I don't have the economic pull to actually pay that because it's already paid off, or they, you
Right.
know, they're fine. So there's a weird,
Or just, you know, greedy landlords, which, you know, is a phenomenon. Just arbitrarily raising things. So
there was, I did want to,
it seems arbitrary to the community. Let's put it that way. We don't know the dynamics of that, but I don't know. Somebody needs to put their business hat on and find.
Well, that's what taxes are for, to incentivize behaviors that
Well,
you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, in the context of our plan,
Yes.
our plan is to see Main Street full.
Stabilize the business.
And the side streets too, and,
And- yeah.
and Pack Street
And
and,
we're grateful that their Main Street is not just a one-trick pony, if you will. We have stuff going on the side streets, which a lot of towns do not.
I think it's really important to explore incentives and how we can use them strategically. This applies to both this topic, which is along the commercial quarter, but also when we were talking about lights on throughout the town, being able to find incentives that will work. And that's where we should have some exploration discussion to encourage people to build accessory, secondary units that are then workforce year-round housing that lights up at least part of that property full-time. And what are the tools that are going to work specifically in Telluride to incentivize what we're looking to see through this master plan? So I hope we can have more discussions in that space.
Yep.
And this is the time to be creative. So.
and I'm gonna call upon Dave if he'll let me. Dave Peterson was a Main Street landlord for a number of years. He sold the property. We don't have to reveal which one, but I don't know what your takes are on incentives. Yeah, strangely enough.
Just saying.
So now what do you need to know?
Well, what would have been you kept occupied, like, it was hard when you first built
Free
the
market.
building.
I'm a little guy, just trying to make a living, free market. But if you've got these rich guys that own a building, then maybe they're incentivized to lose money because they've got other wealthy,
Other income.
cash
They need
tax
to-
property, they need to balance off those taxes.
They need to write it off.
Yeah.
So you gotta really noodle this one out. Is that landlord a rich dude and he doesn't care? And, community spirit, I also like to rent out one of my bedrooms And those poor guys, the dishwashers, they don't have a chance. So I lower the rent on that. But down on Main Street on Free Market, I'm all about, trying to get as much I can, not the most, just 80% of the maximum. So that I can keep it.
Offset.
My goal is 100% occupancy. And that's your goal too,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
your goal out of Society Turn, right?
Yeah,
So
That's-
that's what we're all
Definitely,
heading
yeah.
towards. If we can just get these rich people off a dime, like Chuck in the restaurant, in the Peaks.
Yep.
What was that all about?
I do want to speak, since we're talking about Lawson Hill, Society Lane, around that conversation. I don't know when we talk about the plan, but I think there have been loose conversations around competition, possibly with current rents and stuff. If there were opportunities, I don't know what the capacity is of Lawson Hill, but when we talk about industrial sites as well as PUDs and stuff, but like if there was, I've heard a couple of rumblings of people saying like, if Lawson Hill had more capacity for maybe adding to competition, if people who were in Telluride got a little bit more worried about that, they would somehow lower and bring it down. But in my mind and reality, I don't see that happening. But I just wanted to toss that out there where people have been kind of trying to spitball stuff. But I just,
it's,
knowing the capacity currently, it's like,
Understand what you mean. What is the spitball stuff? We know it's water.
Competition between.
spitballing like ideas around like what could maybe offset the current, like right now, rent being so high in these commercial spaces on Main Street. People are struggling to even fill the space because they don't even have the funds, or if they are, it's a real struggle. And so how do you actually, we have incentivizing of not empty spaces, but also how do we bring down that ceiling? And so people have been spitballing, talking about ideas of if there was competition in other areas where people were worried that the rent is too high and they migrate to Lawson Hill, but currently it's like, is it like a couple, like 10 or 20 businesses maybe in that stretch over there? I don't know.
I have 30 different tenants.
Yeah. But like that one little area with like the brewery, like,
Brewery,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, and the
yeah, what-
brewery has, a number of my units, but,
yeah.
but there's quite a bit, and there's stuff up the hill. I mean, you should go out there you should get,
Do a vacancy study on.
yeah,
that.
no, there's quite a few things all the way up to
Yeah.
the top of the hill that are, offices and stuff out there. We have very limited zoning. We have that because there was a huge fear from the town of Telluride that everyone would leave as much as they wanted the lumber yard to go out there with all their traffic. They did not want other businesses to leave downtown and go out there. So, it was really, the zoning and everything was built to keep people in Telluride. And we pay a sales assessment. We don't pay a sales tax, but all of our rates in terms of sales taxes, the requirement of business licenses, all of that is set to equalize things with downtown Telluride.
Hmm.
And I don't know what Todd's take is on it, but,
But
and
I
it's-
think it's a good point that we talk about the regional economy.
Yeah.
Because we really haven't. This, for instance, is focused just on downtown in terms of your survey. Was initiated, as I understood it, because we were getting so many real estate offices that weren't really selling anything. It was creating an issue in terms of urban vitality. That's not a business that you go in that often. We needed to stimulate the traffic, pedestrian traffic.
well,
Part of urban design principles, but the businesses at Lawson Hill, I would submit, are incredibly integral to our economy here. The lumberyard, the,
gas station,
the gas station, the brewery,
the dry
the
cleaners,
dry
the
cleaner.
laundromat that
Thank
is not
you.
working. Yeah.
The seamstress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an extension of our community, and I think we need to think in that broader sense. Ilium has some businesses, the vet, for instance, and the potential for more. All of that is tied together, and I think we need to take a bigger view than perhaps we have in the past. I think we're probably ready to go, but Dave?
Oh,
Just a
no.
quick comment. About 45 years ago, I was driving back to Telluride and I stopped through, I just swung into Vale, went to the planning department, and they had a really nice little study about the price of commercial rentals per square foot. I thought it was very valuable. And I've never seen.
As a
anything
potential leaseor or, yeah,
As an
price
investor.
per square foot per year.
Right.
So it was apples to apples, and it was pretty sweet though. And I've never seen anything like it since.
yeah.
Could we do something like that here, or is that,
Would that
No
be
one's gonna
informative?
tell their rates.
is that digging into, but
Yeah.
I mean, how did Vail get that information?
I have no idea. No one's gonna tell their triple net or cam rate, and no one's gonna tell their per square foot rate.
Is it
and what-
breaking a law to get it?
I don't, how are they gonna get
Not,
Ask.
They're gonna have to
Town's
ask.
got a power.
it? Yeah. Yeah, and when people ask me if I tell them the real number, they start crying because they can't even build for that number.
Yeah. Oh. So,
right. This is like over my head. I'm not a business person, but I was, but I was in professional services, not in retail and the businesses that are our main focus. So we need these
Um,
to help answer some of these. Yes, we're gonna go to staff and
oh,
our
okay,
discussion.
okay, good. That's
But
what I
Is
have.
that where you're going? Okay.
Well, I have a bunch
If
of,
we are done with the Ben memo?
It is done.
Okay, very good. Sheriff, did you have anything? I don't see a hand up, but okay, good. So let's go to board and staff discussion. Anything?
I think the only thing I will share at the next meeting in February, I will bring forth to you sort of a plan for the year ahead for 2026 of all the various projects, reviews, discussions that we will be looking to P&Z to provide input on. That is inclusive of land use code updates related to the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, Low Energy Carbon Code. There are things happening in other areas that tie into our work here. Also includes some priority land use code updates that we have been as staff collecting. We will do a big land use code update post comprehensive plan, but there are some more urgent, time sensitive, beneficial updates we will bring forth. Comprehensive plan, there will be more stakeholder engagement opportunities besides or in addition to what the comprehensive plan team can do by coming on site that will engage you and staff in this phase 2 space. And anyways, I will bring together sort of a plan for here's each meeting, here are topics we want to cover. The town projects will also be coming to you very soon for work sessions for those bigger projects. And so that will also be integrated into our work together, but we're gonna have a busy 2026 as a Planning and Zoning Commission.
Ready.
And we are excited to work with you. So anyways, that's my update for now. More to come.
there's a lot of things I think we can work on as time allows, but not just the comp plan. And some of them we might have to do again after the comp plan. But I have felt from the minute I got to this town and then on this board that we do not require enough parking. I think it's really obvious. And now that everyone has electric bicycles and a few electric cars and they kind of need to be inside, there's even fewer cars, bigger cars and trucks going in garages. So I think we need to start working on parking requirements, maybe primarily residential. It's just a nightmare. We need to do that. I think we need to update the construction mitigation plan.
Actually, that I should have said, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Okay.
or I can circle back to that one.
No,
Or
Let's
just,
talk about construction mitigation.
just to let you know, so right now we are updating the construction mitigation plan within the planning team. The way it's written, it goes before town council. So I'm getting on the agenda soon. We had some key updates we have to make based on some changes to just procedures. At the same time, there are a number of things that we've been reviewing that could be refined and improved. So question for you, is that something that has come in the past first to P&Z, then to town council, or is it a direct to town council. I don't want to miss a
It
step.
always either came to P&Z or the
Right.
Ecology Commission, but I
Okay.
think it came to P&Z.
So
because
we
I've
will-
worked on it.
Yep.
And I've been wanting to thunder into town council and public comment with a huge list of all the messes that could
Have been created
and
and
many of them can be fixed without an economic impact on the town.
Yes.
So it's just changing wording. So we should definitely see that before it goes to town council.
Great.
Because and I'll try to find my list of
need
all the
to
things I
vet
wanted to make it better.
And
and we've done that once, I
Yeah.
think, over a
And I
decade ago.
appreciate you flagging that because, I'm just looking at, what the requirements are. At first, I'd been thinking, oh, perhaps this is administrative, because some of the changes are just, dates, correcting, things that need correction. And also we've improved some processes across departments. So making that clear in terms of like specifics within, but as we were putting those small updates to bring forth to town council, which are very small, it was like, whoa, holistically, this needs a review and refinement. So we've been working as staff to do a run through what I can do. Let me change the timing of things, bring it to this group. It will have to be February with you reading it in advance. There will be one chance because some of the things need to be urgently done. And I hate to go to town council with just a few things when there's a bigger need. So opportunity to review,
Yeah.
you'll see it in February, and then I'll put it on town council right after that. So thank you. I want to
I
be very
am-
respectful of process and make sure I receive that input. Thank you.
I'm teaching for about another 10 days, but after that, I could probably find time to come down and just meet with staff with my tirade if you want.
Certainly.
Make it go faster.
Sure.
Uh,
Hannah.
We've lived through it.
And we
Please,
do have a
that's-
redlined draft that's almost finished. And so that is something I can send out much sooner than I'll just have to agendize the meeting and make sure you're seeing it well ahead of time
Yeah.
so that you can come with feedback, if that works.
The extra work that you're assuming that we're going to be doing requires some additional meetings.
Not, hopefully for the construction mitigation plan, at least this first, we can always do more later, but there are some things that need to be done. And so, if we get to that conversation in February and it seems like some things need much further discussion versus some things we can just package up and clean up, we'll have to talk about that as a group.
I know it's
I don't want to put it off.
burden
point.
for staff, but
Mhm.
we can, at times, we have done it, set up additional meetings in order to accommodate
2 meetings
situations.
a month.
Yeah, so to 2 meetings a month for a period of time.
I might
The other,
take you up on that in this particular instance. If we were to have a sooner meeting, then I can get it through town council sooner. And that's a possibility, actually, now that this is sort of an added.
let's talk
step.
through that.
Yep, let's do
And the
that.
other thing is,
Great.
when we talk about the wildfire code, I've made the point that we need to think about our urban forest.
Yeah.
Right.
You have
Ahead
it.
of looking at what that is going to require so that we can be prepared for what that means and address it.
Absolutely.
So that's gonna require some discussion and timing.
And that topic.
And that
is
has a
coming to you
deadline,
In
is that-
February.
Yeah.
So that topic will be coming to you in February as that next agenda for our regular meeting is the
Are we
wildfire
going to go
resiliency.
longer, just for everybody's benefit, we're gonna go longer than we usually do. We
And
need
we're
to plan
okay
to.
Going to 9 o'clock. We don't have to rush through things when we have huge, long topics.
Okay.
We've
mean,
never,
that's
we never
been
had,
the
we never had to in the past. I mean, we sometimes had to stay late to get through our real work.
Well, that's very appreciated.
That's why I bring it up,
appreciated
so
by
that you
staff.
know, you haven't
Um,
been through that, but some of us have. We've been
you.
9, 10 o'clock, prefer only 9 o'clock. thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
We'll try to be reasonable.
otherwise you're gonna lose us.
For sure.
We'll
But
be here, but-
so just so you know that the one that's most time sensitive, construction mitigation plan, just because there's some updates that need to be made, don't want to make those without doing some of the other
Yeah.
cleanup. And then the wildfire resiliency code, that's like on a February, you're gonna be part of discussions as is HARC, as, we're have to kind of do everything at
Right.
the same time.
Okay,
Yeah, I had I call it the statewide tree code, but that's the wildfire code that I
Yes.
was talking about. The
Great.
other thing, everybody's in such an uproar over the ski area being closed. And this is when I want data, and I don't know how to go on the computer and do it myself, and I was hoping you all could. And Dave was maybe here, but in 677. I think maybe the ski area was open 1 month.
That was horrible.
In the time I was here, so that means like starting with the winter of 79, 80. The ski area would open and it would close, and it would be closed for a few days or a week or two, and then it would open for a few days and then it would close.
Because of snow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't have snowmaking. And there was, we voted to never have another bluegrass festival. Chuck and I went out of town for many months. We came back and we were busy planning the bluegrass festival, and we had wanted to keep it, so we were happy. But we said, what happened? They all looked at us like we were crazy, and they said it didn't snow. So, I mean, there's some great stories about some of this, but I think it would be really good to have have two things. How many inches of snow we had each year officially, for each winter season, and how many days of the ski season the ski area was open. I also believe that once or twice we stayed open an extra week. There's flexibility in the bigger boundaries of the permit of when we choose to open and when we choose to close. Now, this will give the school an absolute fit, but it might be okay for the school to have a fit if it's for the greater good of our economy. Every other ski town manages to have a spring break in March when the ski area is operating and go along. And we are like the only town that we have to wait for the ski area to close. And then we have to have 2 weeks off. We have to have 2 weeks off. And we didn't always. And then, and that dictates when the ski area closes. And we might not have that luxury anymore. And I think we need to have data so we can really consider this, well, and it's got to be somewhere. And what I remember is the average amount of snow when I moved here each winter was 350 inches. And that was with some huge drought years that this year might end up rivaling, hopefully not, but with some really big drought years.
And I think that is excellent historical data, institutional knowledge on this board, because we have gotten into a rut with, expectations on several different business levels. A lot of the proprietors are new. They don't have that background. And so we need to step back and put things in perspective and do a better job of understanding where we're at and, transitioning to something that's more flexible. When I went to a water conservation discussion this summer, where there was a panel based on the master's thesis from a guy who grew up here. I'm sorry, I forget his name. He made his master's thesis on the topic after snow, what to do to save the snow, change the areas, what else to do. And the panel included someone from Telski, a woman who is a sustainability person. She said, we are seriously thinking of changing the opening and closing dates of this area because everything is changing to later. They can go until the 1st of May as far as before they hit the wildlife order and winter or calving season. So we need to kind of get out of our, try to go back to the way it was, because it's not. Climate change is changing it dramatically. She said 19 days of snow.
Well, I've only been here for 10 years, but we sometimes get more snow in April and May than the entire season.
Yeah.
Yes,
Doesn't
and
that make
it's not unusual in the middle of May to get a really wet snow.
Right.
Breaks all the trees, major issue, but yeah, so we need to adapt. That's what.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
And I would just, another data point that would go good with Kathy's snow levels would be skiers per day throughout the year, kind of what that average is, so you can see.
When the peak ski
Yeah,
days
I
are,
mean,
yeah.
how many people are really here between the week after Thanksgiving or the first week of April?
And one of my favorite stories that Todd and Angela have heard 5,000 times, and I'm sorry, but it's close to Ben's wanting more biking events. The year we got the bike path and it opened like at Thanksgiving time, it was like a no or low snow year. and there was no ski area open. So, and rollerblading was the big deal. And everyone went rollerblading on the bike path, including Daryl Hannah. And this is, you know, pre-Instagram, pre-telephone or anything, but then everybody was going home and telling their friends or telling everybody that they knew around the country, oh yes, I was out rollerblading with Daryl, you know.
The
So
mermaid.
that worked out really well that year. So you
Don't
just need,
try it now. You're
Yeah.
gonna end up on your butt.
but yeah, right. But yeah, we just need to have a
Bike
celebrity to take everybody out snow biking and then we'll be good to go. Yeah.
Yeah. We just need to think
And
more broadly. Sheriff, yes. Last
think-
word?
I think you touched on it, but I do know, I always thought that the Forest Service permit for this ski area ended in the first week of April, and that's what
No.
determined the closing date. But this sounds like you have other information.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to mention that one of the reasons we don't have a spring break in March is because if all of the kids are out of school and our ski area is slammed and all of our restaurants are full and parents don't have anywhere for their kids to be, it's really hard on families. So I know a lot of families are really grateful that our spring break is later because it allows them to work through that really busy time and then have
Yeah,
spring break when they're not trying to work.
I just don't know how it works for families in other ski towns because it's different. And I know that we somehow get through the week of Christmas and New Year's, which is often quite busy with all the parents working and the kids not being in school. So there's got to be a way that we can figure out something that meets everybody's needs. And
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
parents-
some ski areas do delay, but they also are open later, the ski
Anyway.
areas, and so there kind of is no possibility of doing that. You're right, and I do think they have shorter breaks, to your point of the 2 week versus 1 week, but then they have a fall break. That's like the way that they work it out.
Right.
we used to have Thanksgiving Day and the day after, and now we have a week at Thanksgiving because everybody knows there's going to be no snow and the parents can take the kids and go away. You know,
Yeah.
everybody but the ski area knows. But
Rethinking.
Yeah.
Well,
Your ideas coming.
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
I've been skiing for 65 years and yeah.
You will too someday.
Someday.
snowboarding.
Sorry. I'm kidding.
But in my early days, there was no snowmaking.
Right.
Nobody opened until January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't any snow.
Right. And we may not have any water, so therefore we might be going back to that.
More festivals. Well,
Anyway.
good news. Van Etta just got a James Beard Award as the best bar in Colorado.
Oh my
Best
goodness.
new.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Nice. They need to do something about the noise level in there, but other than that,
Really?
it's a great bar.
It's kind of noise. Yeah.
Thank you for that input.
that's
All right,
great.
That's a great
adjourned
news.
by unanimous consent,
Okay.
and we'll see you on the 26th on the street.
Great. We'll get rid of